WrestlePalooza marks the first WWE show that's going to be on the new ESPN Unlimited service. But the ESPN app, the Unlimited service they're launching, it's got some issues with WWE going into WrestlePalooza. So a huge number of cable customers, they're not going to be able to watch WWE WrestlePalooza through the Unlimited service. At least not the way you think. They're gonna have to pay even more to be able to watch the show. I know what you're thinking. You're probably sitting there saying, Matt, I'm not even gonna watch the show to begin with. I say hats off to you. So ESPN marketed this as the all-in-one place for ESPN content for all sports, all on this unlimited service. And when they initially announced the WWE partnership, this was not going to go live with WWE until 2026. But oddly enough, that got bumped up right away to get WrestlePalooza to happen. And it also coincidentally tied into the exact same day when AEW is going to be running one of their pay-per-views. A little counter-programming in there, but couldn't possibly be the reason, could it? So the major issue right now is that cable providers like Comcast and YouTube TV, which have ESPN tied into them, and over 20 million subscribers, they are still not going to have full access to the programming on the new ESPN app. At a recent ESPN press event, it was clarified that pay TV subscribers will not have access to WrestlePalooza. So customers that get it through in the United States, that get it through Comcast, YouTube TV, Sling TV, Cox, and others will basically need to double pay to watch the show and a few others this year. ESPN said that this might last until the end of the year. Now, referencing this off the internet from Awful Announcing, that they had a full article write up with the quotes and everything, so I'll leave that in the description. And if this continues for several months, it means that customers that have something like a YouTube TV, Sling TV, Comcast, for example, they might already have ESPN and the ESPN app through their provider, and they're paying for that. This WWE stuff is not going to be linked to their account, their profile, and so they're not going to get it for free. So they will have it already under their Comcast subscription with ESPN, and they're paying for that every month. And then they're like, oh, I want to get WWE now. Go pay separately instead of it just being all inclusive. So ESPN needs to work this out really, really fast, but it doesn't sound like they will. And to me, it sounds, with all this stuff and all this reporting coming out, it sounds to me like this was very rushed. And ESPN wasn't ready to have WWE added into all this programming, and it's like, we're gonna figure this out as we go. So WrestlePalooza might have a very low viewership. It's really hard to know if that will be the case or not because it's streaming, and so numbers are not like really provided all that much. We know we get numbers still for SmackDown because it's on USA, but Netflix numbers for WWE, you're not gonna get like crazy detailed analytics all the time. You can get a rough idea and then Netflix can just tell you what they want to tell you. ESPN, I have no idea if they will even disclose how many people watched it. I assume Triple H will come out at the end and say, we had record-breaking gates, highest viewership, everything is amazing, suck it, Sledgehammer. Those kinds of things. But it will be interesting to see what viewership is like for WrestlePalooza. Going into the event, I can tell you that as a fan and on the internet and covering WWE content every day, that interest is low. I've asked you guys in the audience, they're watching right now, hi. I've asked all of you your thoughts on WWE right now and what's going on. And anecdotally, it's a small group, but a lot of the chatter is interest is down. Interest is down in the product. WrestlePalooza is not exciting. People are not necessarily very engaged with it. And if you're gonna have all these cable service providers not being able to provide WWE content through the new ESPN app, and 20 million subscribers or so are not going to be watching it, that seems like a huge chunk of people that I don't know if they're going to turn around and spend an extra $30 on a show that isn't the hottest thing on paper. Maybe it is to you. Maybe you're looking forward to Cena versus Braun or the AJ Lee tag team match. Maybe you are looking forward to the card. I think the matches itself, what we're being presented, the 5 matches, they're gonna be good. I think it will overall deliver as a show on its own. But all these hurdles and steps for people and the general confusion of people have stuff on Netflix, they have stuff on Peacock, now they're being told they need an ESPN app, not the regular one, this new one. Oh, but I have ESPN through my cable provider, can I get it? No. As soon as you start putting any barriers for people, especially with television and subscriptions, it causes confusion and it causes people to, I think, not take an extra step to really figure out. They just say, okay, forget it, I'm not going to watch it. But with ESPN saying that this could be the case for the next couple of months or to the end of the year, That's a couple of WWE shows where people are maybe not going to be watching. From WrestlePalooza to Crown Jewel, then we have Survivor Series, and that's kind of it. I mean, there's Saturday Night's Main Event. That'll be on, I think, Netflix, and it'll be on, obviously, on Peacock for US people. But unless WWE is going to sneak in another show in December, then you get to January, which is Royal Rumble. So assuming that they get this ironed out by January, you're looking at like 3 shows in total, 3 PLEs, that people are not going to be able to easily get. Or you're going to be forcing them, in a way, to say, hey, you got to pay the $30 if you're in the US to get this thing. So it feels very rushed. So does the match card, to be honest. The build for certain things has really been lackluster on television, and it feels like it's all just built for big moments because we got a Palooza that we need to be able to buy. So you get the likes of Brock Lesnar being brought back to take on John Cena at the Palooza. You get AJ Lee making a huge return to WWE. She's gonna be in a tag team match. That's also for the Palooza. You got the Usos coming back together as a tag team to go up against the Vision. So you feel that there are a lot of matches that are put together, and it's an odd contrast, I feel, of WWE, TKO, Mark Shapiro saying they want WrestlePalooza to be a giant event, an annual event, something akin to a SummerSlam, which is now 2 days, but they want it to be a big deal. I would believe that they would say these things because they have investors, they have shareholders, they have now the deal with ESPN. It's all about marketing and hyping and pushing this thing to say, hey, this new event that we rushed and pushed out, we want it to be big spectacle. Well, they don't want to say that, well, this is going to be a B-level pay-per-view that we're going to shove out every year. No, they want to be able to market this thing as a huge deal, hence why you see names like AJ Lee and Brock on the show, and John Cena. But it does feel rushed. 5 matches, we couldn't get 6, couldn't get 7, and the build, I mean, I'm watching every week because I got to, but the builds have not been strong, in my opinion, for really any of the programs. I think the mixed tag team match has had the best build, the most time dedicated to it, where you were feeling that the seeds were planted with Becky showing up at Clash to help out Seth, Low Blow Punk, setting up AJ Lee's return, her return, and the promos and segments we've had. So it's got a lot of build for several weeks to get to this point, but something like Brock and Cena has had very little build. You had the Usos, who are always entangled with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, so that's not too much of a surprise. Stephanie Vaquer and Io Sky having their match has had a lot of hiccups along the road where we haven't had really any face-to-face confrontations, just some handshakes, friendly handshakes going on. And Cody and Drew, something that I'm really interested in seeing and excited to have that program, has had really no build because it's been Drew versus Orton and Drew doing promos and Cody's been off TV. So not only can you see that the service itself for ESPN with WWE has been rushed, the card is also reflecting that, I think, too. And Mark Shapiro and TKO wanting it to be a big spectacle event, I hope that we don't get more of this, where they're just shoveling out more PLEs every couple of weeks beyond what we already know on the roadmap. But speaking of TKO, at a recent Goldman Sachs conference, Mark Shapiro had this to say about ticket prices, because we all know that ticket prices are a big deal. WrestleMania, Survivor Series, every major show right now, ticket sales, they're selling out. Triple H always talks about how everything's sold out, but we always hear about how ticket prices and packages keep going up. Shapiro said that, quote, "We know we have a lot of room there because Vince McMahon was primarily pricing tickets for families and wasn't totally focused on maximizing the opportunity there. We see what we can do with the UFC, and we're replicating that in terms of ticket yield and advanced sales when it comes to on location on the WWE side." And that's coming from Sports Illustrated. WWE ticket prices are going to continue to rise. And this is where I think it comes in play, where, like I probably titled the video, that this is the new era of WWE. We're in the thick of it right now, but we're also, or it feels like we are, but it also is kind of the beginning. We're in now the TKO, firmly in the TKO era, where the advertising is everywhere, the ticket packages and pricing continue to go up. However, arenas and shows continue to sell out, and it's an interesting contrast, I feel, that people are still going to the shows and the arenas and the stadium shows, they're selling out. But Shapiro's comments here make it really feel like we are no longer going to be positioning this product for the families. And people can say what they will about Vince. Would he have, if he was still around and in charge, would he have increased prices? Probably. Maybe not to this degree, we really don't know. Vince is all about the money. I don't think he would have lowered ticket prices, that's for sure. Would he have taken Saudi deals? He already did. Would they have expanded to this much? Probably at some point. But it's a lot of speculation on our part as fans as to what Vince would have done. Would we have seen advertisements on the ring mat? Maybe not. But you see what I mean. There are elements in there that we could have seen it go this way, but ticket prices under Vince, maybe they wouldn't be as high as they are or seemingly will become. Maybe he would have kept it in line for families and make it affordable, because that's what the product has always been. It's been family friendly, affordable for people to go out and take a family of 4 and go watch WWE. You can still do that and get some ticket prices and packages at a reasonable rate, but everything in life is so bloody expensive right now, and this form of entertainment is not going to be budging on that either. And with Shapiro's comments of, we are looking at the UFC model and Vince kept prices low for families, they're not doing that. They're not interested in that. They are interested in maximizing profit. So I do wonder then, what is going to be the tipping point with all of this? I don't know if it can last forever, but stick with me for the ticket prices, because if you see on screen here, if Matt in the editing room has pulled this up, you can see WrestleMania 42 ticket packages. Shapiro brought up On Location, right? On Location for WWE, ticket sales, ticket prices. And these packages have come out recently, and it's kind of scary. They got silver, gold, championship level packages that you can get, but like silver packages start at $1,700 per person, gold is $2,750, champion $5,000, suite by the seat, 2 night tickets and the suite access is almost $7,000, and the elite experience, where you're gonna get 2-day premium front row seating, on stage, in ring, photo opportunities, VIP World Tour priority passes, you are going to be paying $37,500 per person. Who's spending that kind of money? It's a car on a ticket for 2 nights. I still gotta get a hotel room at that price. And don't get me wrong, for a Crown Jewel, for Palooza, for all these other events, you're probably going to be able to go online and just find $160 tickets. I'm in Toronto and I've gone to Elimination Chamber. 2 tickets was almost $1,000. It's expensive in Canada too, so it's not really so much a WWE thing. Ticketmaster is just bad. But as we get events like Palooza more often this year, it feels like WWE Creative is pushing for just big moments. John Cena's retirement. Celebrity integrations, which isn't new. We always get celebs. We had Travis Scott, then we get Jelly Roll, Brock Lesnar returning, AJ Lee making a return, Chris Jericho rumored to return. So what happens when the returns run out? They run the well dry. Right now in this era of TKO and WWE, feels like a lot of the return era, we can call it whatever we want, but all about the spectacle, big moment, big pop, let's get a return of a big name. TKO is still going to continue to charge huge amounts for tickets, and it seems like a completely new era for WWE and its loyal fan base. But where do you think WWE is going to be in 3 to 5 years from now? Looking at 2028, 2030, when all the returns are tapped out. And I'm talking, yeah, Brock is gone, AJ Lee is maybe still around wrestling, The Rock isn't gonna wrestle, Stone Cold isn't gonna wrestle. I mean, they might just put HBK all back together with $10 million and just get him to wrestle, you never know. But what happens when all the returns tap out and the weekly television as it looks today is very middle of the road, very safe, and everything is built around the big grand show, the big spectacle, the big palooza? Because it's already starting to feel that way, in my opinion, that the weekly television show is very much a secondary piece to, we have the big spectacle event happening in 3 weeks' time. We need matches to fit into that, and people will buy the large ticket prices because big return, big spectacle moment. Because for many fans, weekly Raws and SmackDowns, they used to be must see. Even in the last couple of years when maybe you were watching the Bloodline closely, I know for me, when I'm watching that and Sammy and Roman and Jay and everybody's in the ring on the segments in SmackDown, they're closing the show every week with a promo. Sometimes not great, sometimes very repetitive, where it was always just Bloodline closes 20-minute segment, or hooded figure runs into the ring. That still happens today, but hooded figure runs into the ring and attacks. All of these things would still happen, these tropes, but there was a lot of compelling stuff happening from a story perspective. And I felt that that trickled down creatively, where you would get a lot of interesting stuff. The dynamic of Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Dom Mysterio, Judgment Day, Punk and Drew McIntyre last year. A lot of interesting story stuff. Hard to say the same thing today. So what happened to the new era? Not this one, the Paul Levesque era. Remember that? Paul Heyman at the Hall of Fame ceremony, and we're in the Paul Levesque era, and everybody talking about the Paul Levesque era. And I think that was to symbolize and refer to the big saga storytelling we were getting, because we were at peak Bloodline and WrestleMania 40. And it feels like, as we sit back a little bit, it might feel like since WrestleMania 40, nothing has really been the same. Kind of wrapped up that Paul Levesque era real quick. Compelling characters, story arcs all seem to be gone. Top talent barely wrestle on a week-to-week basis, or several weeks. Instead, 18-minute promo segments to tell the story in the ring between the characters, which is very effective and very necessary, but we don't have the wrestling dynamic in there. That's all saved for the 15-20 minute match at the next PLE. So it's a new era, again, for this moment. And it'll change again. And I'm still a wrestling fan at heart. And you know what's great and what's a big positive is having alternatives, to be able to have options to watch stuff, to be able to watch AEW, to go to an AEW show like I have, where ticket prices are not going to cost an arm and a leg, or I can watch wrestling and get wrestling matches every single week. It's an alternative, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. Some people will love WWE. I follow WWE because it's my job, and I ultimately enjoy wrestling, but I enjoy it from a lot of different places. So it's good to have alternatives, and it's good to watch how you want to watch it and not watch stuff. So I leave you with this, and I ask this question: where do you think they will be, WWE will be, with TKO in the next 3 to 5 years, and what will this era look like when we do eventually look back at it and question, did it all work out, or did they hit that tipping point and they start losing the trust and the goodwill of their fan base? If you want to switch it up, have some positivity, and just have a little bit of a giggle, click this video right here, because we're just doing a little fun sketch just about WWE creative and how all that might go. Have a great day. See ya.